PK 4.0 is at it again. What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with a major legit checking guide update on the Jordan Jumpman Jack Travis Scott TR. And I say this is a major update because we now have the PK 4.0 batch for these. And if you guys have been following this channel and you've been following my Travis Scott Jordan legit check guides for the past 2 years, you know that PK 4.0 is a major heavy hitter when it comes to the rep scenes. And when I found out that PK 4.0 when I found out that this batch was coming out, I knew I had to get a legit check guide out because this has some major improvements over the past batches that I've reviewed. And a legit check guide is absolutely necessary because of that. There are things on this batch that all of the previous batches that I have done my legit check guides on before don't get right. So as I always do, being the Travis Scott legit check guide expert, I'm back with a video. So with that said, guys, let's get into it. And just like with every other video, I always want to point out, guys, that you should be looking outside of this video to enhance your legit checking knowledge, which is why I'm always giving you guys the Instagram account where you can find more pictures of the shoes that I am currently talking about. The video was great, but obviously I can't hold a shoe in one place for 30 minutes as I talk about it, right? There's a lot of things that I want to go over, and I'm really making a conscious effort to have my videos not be 30 minutes long. So go to the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. You will see plenty of pictures and angles and everything of the fake shoes so that you know what to look for. Pay attention to the details, guys. They matter, and they will make your legit checking life so much easier. So with that said, let's actually get into this comparison, and we are going to skip the box because you guys know how to legit check the box based on the other videos that I have. Let's start going with the things that are actually different, and that's going to start with the bag. As you guys know, the bags that come with the Travis Scott Jordan Jumpman Jack TR, that's such a long fucking name, but the bags that come with these shoes have been a pretty reliable legit checker when it comes to these legit check guides that I've been making on the shoe. And visually and by touch and feel, it has been pretty easy to tell them apart. But this PK 4.0 batch has taken a step closer to what the authentic pair looks and, most importantly, feels like, because the feel is definitely something that I noticed, which was majorly different between the other batches that I've compared and this. And the first thing I'm going to say is that they are using the same feeling material now. The thing that it's really hard to capture in the video, but this is a super coarse fabric material. It feels like a potato sack. It is rough to the touch, not soft. It doesn't feel great. The bags that came with the other batches were visually similar, but they didn't feel the same. They didn't have that rough texture, and this definitely has that rough texture. They are now feeling so much more like the retail bag, and that's scary. When you look at them from a color perspective, there is still some differences in the color. This is definitely a lot closer in color to the authentic than the previous batches, and you guys can see that on the screen, but there's still a slight color difference. One of the things that I'm definitely noticing as well is that the PK 4.0 bag is definitely a little bit thinner to the touch as well. But one of the things that I'm noticing is that the length of the bags is significantly closer than the previous batches as well. And if you remember my previous videos, you could see that the other replica bags were much shorter. Outside of that, we have a little bit of a difference in color between the actual ropes that are in the bag. You could see that the rope on the authentic is a lot thinner and more tightly wound than the replica, which feels a lot puffier. And you can see that they're still struggling color wise with the wax tips on those ropes, but definitely much closer. And when we compare the embroidery side by side, you can see a slight shape difference. Actually, the embroidery on the face definitely looks a little bit wider on the replica, but the color is definitely there. The Jumpman, I'd say the embroidery for the Jumpman just looks a little bit rougher and less neat on the rep as well. But other than that, this is easily the closest bag that I've seen so far, and we're starting to approach that realm where I would probably need an authentic bag as reference, where I don't necessarily feel like I needed that before in the previous batches. But that's the bag. Let's start talking about the shoes. So here we have it. We have the PK 4.0 on the right and retail on the left, side by side. Now, for the folks that have followed me along this journey and have watched the previous videos, what do you guys see that stands out, that's different about this batch that was not the case for the others? Type it in the comment right now. The first thing that I noticed when comparing these side by side is the canvas color is identical. It looks absolutely identical. If you remember the previous videos that I did with the previous batches that are out on the market, the canvas color, the canvas itself felt very similar to the authentic compared to those reps, but the color was different. There was like the canvas was a little bit more green than it was this dark mocha color. But when you compare the authentic to the PK 4.0, they absolutely nailed it. And that is actually kind of scary. This color is now not something that you can rely on when it comes to the canvas. One thing that I do notice though is that there's just a slight difference in the build shape of the toe boxes. You're still seeing a little bit wider of a toe box on the rep compared to the authentic, but that canvas is exactly the same. Now, the best view that I like to use when I'm doing these comparisons is the side by side. So putting them side by side, we remember in the previous videos what the reps struggled with. They struggled with the color of the reverse swoosh. They struggled with the color and the transparency of the gum sole. And they struggled, obviously, with the canvas color. Side by side, in studio lighting, they clearly have gotten a lot closer to what the authentic pair looks like. The only thing that I'm really seeing when it comes to being able to legit check is that there's still a slight color difference between the color of the reverse swoosh on the authentic pair here on the left and the color of the reverse swoosh on the rep. It's definitely a lot closer than previous batches, but this batch is still a little bit lighter. But where they lack in the color of the reverse swoosh, they definitely made up for it in the color of the gum bottoms, because these gum bottoms are super close, so much closer than the previous batches. While the PK 4.0 definitely does a lot of things differently and more accurately than previous batches that we've studied, there's still some things that are a little bit off about it that could give you the opportunity to legit check. One of those being the outsole flaw carries over from the previous batches as well. And that outsole flaw is you can see that there is a gloss finish to the jack text on the sole. And you can see how much shinier and how much more it catches the light than the authentic on the left, which is a lot more duller and matte. And that's the case for both shoes. You can see that the rep is definitely a lot glossier. Another flaw that carries over is that we still have a slight difference in color when it comes to the Jumpman. Definitely a lot closer on the PK 4.0 on the right than previous batches, but you're still seeing a slightly darker red on the rep, while the red on the authentic is a little bit more vibrant. and they catch the light a little bit differently. In terms of the color of the sock liner, you do see there's a little bit of a difference as well. The sock liner is definitely more dull and muted in color, almost like the sock liner itself is more faded on the rep than it is on the authentic. Very close, but still a difference. When we look at the back view, we see also there's still a slight difference in color between this suede nubuck ankle part, where it is a little bit lighter on the authentic pair and a little bit darker on the authentic pair and more of a sail color, while the rep is lighter and more white. It's got more of a cooler tint to it, but they're definitely using a lot closer of a tumbled leather on the reps this time, which is interesting to say the least. And for those who like to see the embroidery, this is what it looks like side by side. And some of the other easier stuff to tell that carries over from other reps is the laces on the authentic come wound in this large style bag, and the coils are very large. On the rep, just like the other reps we've done, the laces are tightly wound, while the color of the laces is definitely close. Just like with previous batches, we do have slight differences in the insole. You can see the color difference between the style altogether, to be honest. The Jumpman is definitely a little bit darker on the authentic. It's a little bit lighter on the rep. You can see the shade differences between the white pattern design on the rep compared to the authentic. And you can also see this weird outline around the Jumpman that just doesn't exist on the authentic pair. So definitely still some very handy legit checking things that you can look at, but definitely a huge improvement over the other batches that we've seen up to this point. This is definitely the update, and if I had to be concerned about a rep right now, this is the rep that I would be concerned about. Outside of that, it performs exactly the same under the black light, so I'm not going to waste the screen time on that. But that is the PK 4.0, and just like all of the other PK 4.0 batches that we've seen up to this point, they are going out of their way to make highly accurate reps, and that means that you, as an authentic shoe buyer, as somebody that wants to legit check, you gotta pay attention to that. There are still things that you can find that will allow you to differentiate the reps from the authentic pair, but you gotta be on your game. So with that said, guys, that is my quick PK 4.0 update. If you guys want a more in-depth kind of a breakdown, hit me up in the Discord and I will be able to do more. I can answer your more specific questions. But remember, guys, I am not a free legit checking service, so I have a life. I have things that I like to do. Please don't tie me up asking me to do your QCs, to do your legit checking. Use my videos as the source, and I will be there to supplement and help, but I won't do a legit check for you unless you give me a tip. I know that sounds like, you know, shitty, but you know, my time is valuable, guys. The more time I spend doing this stuff is the less time I spend on my actual life. So with that said, guys, remember, you can see more pictures of the rep on the Instagram account that you'll see on the screen, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.